So we've come to Arenberg, which is probably the most famous section of pavé in Paris Roubaix, and we're here to check out a new suspension system from HiRide, and we've brought along with us special guest John from road.cc.
Yeah, with the idea being that on the off-road world, even in gravel bikes now, we deal with suspension all the time. So it's just good to have come along and see what suspension for road bikes is all like. This isn't entirely new, is it?
Last year, HiRide's system was used by Team Sky on their Pinarellos in both Paris Roubaix and in the Tour de France. But what's different this year is that now they've developed a new system for the front end of the bike.
And what we've also done is I've brought along a gravel bike to compare it to, and it's a Lauf True Grit, which is one of only a handful of gravel bikes that have suspension. Okay, in this case it's only front suspension, but it's quite a different concept because it's, instead of using like shock absorbers and dampers, it's just a leaf sprung item. So the idea is to see how that very basic simple suspension system stacks up against a much more technologically advanced version.
It's going to be an interesting day. Let's crack on. So we're here at Arenberg with Domenico, who's Mr. HiRide really. So do you want to talk us through the system? So you've had the rear suspension system for a year or 2 years now, and now we've brought in the accompanying front end.
Yes, the idea is to to suspend the entire bike. The concept is the same of the rear suspension, so an electronic system that acts using an hydraulic damper to lock or unlock the suspension, to have a fully stiff behavior when you need to transfer the power on smooth tarmac, and to have a very soft behavior when you need to absorb all the oscillation and vibration coming from the ground.
So say that we're on the roughest of terrains here today. How much is it capable of smoothing the ride?
Well, we measured because we come from the automotive field, so we measure pretty everything. So we measured that the average absorption of the vibration coming from the ground is of the 32%. So the rider perceived 32% of vibration less with respect to a full rigid bike.
Okay, and vibrations come in loads of different shapes and sizes, if you like. Is this to particular parts of that spectrum, if you like?
Yeah, exactly. Because basically we analyzed which frequency bandwidth affect the most the rider experience, let me say, the rider feeling. So, and we noticed that this is between 10 Hz and 50 Hz. So we designed the suspension to have the highest absorption in that specific bandwidth. So that's why we designed the suspension with 20 millimeters of travel on the front and 11 millimeters of travel on the back, because there you can get the highest absorption in that frequency, and to reduce the fatigue and to increase the stability of a road bike.
But would I be right in saying, like, the really clever bit of the system is how it kind of filters out what it thinks is inputs from the rider, say you bouncing on the top of the bike and squashing the suspension, versus frequencies that will come from hitting the road? And is that like the heart of the system? Could you explain a bit more how that works?
Yeah, exactly, because basically the system analyzes the vibration of the frame and make a distinction between energy coming from the rider and energy coming from the ground. So analyzing these two elements, we lock or unlock the suspension to let the rider always get or the better comfort in some cases, or to better transfer the power to the ground. It means that if you are on smooth asphalt, for example, and you are pedaling, the suspension automatically lock out to have a fully stiff bike, actually.
Although you've designed your own suspension system around this, and you've got like the small elastomer sprung shock at the back and the coil sprung kind of like shock unit at the front, but the thing is you could apply this technology to pretty much any suspension system for a road bike. You could execute it in different ways because you can just lock it out and unlock it out, and the clever part is the brain of it.
Yes, exactly, because of course making suspension for a road bike, also mechanical side is pretty hard because dimensions, weight and all the constraints, but the real point of our system is of course the brain, so the electronic and all the algorithms that can give the capability to manage the suspension according to the rider needs in that specific case, so that we of course can bring that technology to other application and to other potentially manufacturer suspensions. Yeah. So basically, the technology comes from the automotive field because we previously worked in designing suspension control system and traction control system for motorbikes, so such as for Ducati, KTM, and so on and so forth. So our idea is to bring this technology in the bicycle industry because we strongly think this industry is ready to accept this kind of technology to make an upgrade in terms of vehicle dynamic.
Yeah, and would it be, or is there potential further down the line to integrate your system with other electronic systems such as shifting and all that?
We are fully open to integration with other systems, and we are already working with electric gear providers to integrate our system with them. So one battery, one interface to deliver to the rider a user-friendly experience.
So we're on the way home now. It seems like a long time ago. This morning we were on the cobbles in Arenberg, and so we've had a chance to digest the ride and see how we got on with it. What did you think, John?
Shaking. It was like very interesting. I'd say like the cobbles was maybe a bit of an extreme test, really, because I think I think a mountain bike would feel pretty rough over those. You're still going to get it like the size of the cobbles is massive.
This was your first time on the cobbles?
Yeah. So first time I've ever ridden them. And would I be rushing to go back? No, I wouldn't. I want to buy like ruined rough stuff.
I agree. I think it was a bit of an extreme test even for suspension, because really it is aimed at gravel bikes and road bikes, and certainly what they were showing us was more aimed at the road, and that's like at the very, very, very extreme end of what a road bike, any road bike would want to do.
But
it was
even given all that, how did we think it performed?
It definitely makes a big old difference, because I think definitely compared to like a fully rigid bike, massive difference in terms of like control and being pinballed about.
Yeah.
Well, as the person who rode all the three, I rode all three bikes that they had there. So I rode a fully rigid, and we had a Lauf as a comparison, and the Lauf's comparison, and I rode the auto touring mode, I think it was. Yeah, it definitely made a difference. I think I agree with you that the Lauf was maybe more comfortable, but the HiRide was definitely felt faster.
But I mean, that's the thing. It's like a very interesting system, and it really works the way they say it does work.
Yes, exactly.
But at the back of my mind, I'm like, there's actually like kind of much cheaper and easier ways to achieve a lot of this, which is run flat tires.
Yeah, which kind of takes us back to whether Arenberg was the right place to demonstrate it, really, because you're not particularly gonna ride that bike on Arenberg every day. My view was that the bike was really active. I mean, it did what it said on the tin, that as soon as you went on anything that was even slightly smooth, it would start to work. Nothing could give you an easy ride across those cobbles.
It would have been. It's a shame we didn't take it out. We were so transfixed by being, on the Arenberg, that we didn't actually take it out on the road and see how it compared to the Louth.
I thought the tarmac, because I've obviously ridden that Louth an awful lot, and done like board axes on it and all sorts. But riding it just on that patch of tarmac next to the road, again there, I think that's actually quite a good thing for, like, say, a British road, because that was sort of kind of tarmac but knackered, which is British road. And they're sort of like the Louth, obviously, the big rubber, maybe didn't roll quite as aggressively, but I mean that's perception, not necessarily fact. And obviously the Louth, you really notice that least front fork is always moving, so if you get out of the saddle and like weak on it, you can feel it bouncing up and down, although because it's undamped it's not going to rob energy in theory. Whereas with that thing, obviously you get out of the saddle and you stomp on it and it feels exactly like a road bike, and it goes off like a road bike, so it's like no perception of like wasted energy. But I mean, like, that's a difficult thing. It's like these are all sort of like subjective feelings, and again, you know, if you have it fully unlocked on their bike all the time, would that be more efficient, or is the long range more efficient? These are all difficult things, I think, to actually quantify.
Yeah, absolutely is. But I thought it was really, obviously, the concept is a good one. The idea that you can have a bike that adjusts to circumstances is a really
Under wheel.
Absolutely, it's a great
I
goal
suppose
to
the
have.
interesting thing is what categories of bike we think would end up with this sort of active suspension. I mean, obviously from their point of view, they think all categories of bike could do with active suspension, and for their part, Sky are running the active suspension at Roubaix. And my guess is they'll probably run it on the gravelly bits of the Tour too.
So how do we sum all that up then? We thought it was a really interesting concept. We thought the execution was pretty good, and we think there's legs in it.
It's got future.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd say the bloke who commented on the picture we put on Instagram, summed it up and said, rim brake v disc brake arguments ends here, this replaces it.
Yeah, I'd say the one thing that's missing out, though, there's no way around it, this system's going to be really expensive, isn't it? Because that Pinarello, that was like 10 grand, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
And that only had back suspension, so imagine,
It was a Pinarello.
Another few grand on the front for front suspension.
Totally.
And I think that's the thing that I thought it is amazing, and it's like really good technological achievement. But I'm also like, for most people, it's like you want a lot of the benefits of this.
Well, that's why they're doing
run
that.
like 45C tyres.
They're talking about, it's the HiRide brand, isn't it? Because obviously they're looking to sell it as OEM equipment to other manufacturers, or possibly license it, which would bring the price down substantially. My question about it all was the whole thing of integration. So if you've got like electronic shifting, or indeed wireless shifting, how many brains do you want on your bike? You don't want like two sets of batteries, two system management brain things. You want them all in one.
So then, like, a yes or no, suspension road bikes the future?
In certain circumstances. I've got to say, I've ridden the Pinarello K8, the original one, with just a rubber damper on it, which is like nothing. It's like such an unsophisticated form of suspension. And I really liked it, but partly I really liked it because it just looked like the look of the bike. And I didn't notice the suspension, which in some respects means maybe it worked.
Yes or no, and shortly yes or no.
Sorry.
For a standard road bike, on standard roads, no.
I tell you what, I'll come back in because I have to go.
Come back in.
No, I'm going to go because the guy said something, and it was a good valid point. Is there are no other wheeled vehicles that don't have suspension, so why not have suspension on a? I mean, loads of people will tell us in the comments why we should have suspension.
Skateboards, roller skates, unicycles, but
but they're not
useful modes of transport.
Yeah, they're not modes of transport, are they? Unless you live in it.
I think I'd say yes.
14.
Some kind of suspension. At some points, if you can make it efficient enough and without a massive weight penalty, why wouldn't you?
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button, and to tell us what you think, which I'm sure you will, in the comments below.